What's up, guys? I'm Headchopper. I'm here to break down my lineup that won me a few dollars here on Sunday, featuring a lot of good tools here on RotoGrinders I use obviously every week. So let's just break through these players real quick and then, take from it what you will, man. It's all a learning experience. So let's crank it up. You should be able to see the lineup here. We'll start off with Lamar Jackson. First off, let me just talk about some general strategy for any tournament like this. What I do is I go in and I have a core of maybe a few running backs or five or maybe 3 to 5 running backs, a core of wide receivers, a tight end I really like, or a couple tight ends, things like that. Just a core of players. And, if your core players hit on a week, then you should be able to make money in tournaments. If your core players miss, then you're going to lose money. That's just the life. That's the way it is. But if your core players hit and you get a little lucky with those fringe players, like I did yesterday, that's when you can hit big. You never expect to win this kind of big, but you can still hit big regardless. My core player, one of them was Lamar Jackson. I had about 3 or 4 quarterbacks I really liked. I liked Kyler Murray. I liked Lamar Jackson. I liked Carson Wentz. And then I was back and forth between a guy like Cam Newton, who always has upside. But Lamar Jackson was one of the guys I used the most. So 10% ownership here on this contest. I had him way more than that, expecting him to run more. So it was a little bit of a different thing going on there. But, he pulled it off, so that's good.
So Boykin, we got a Boykin touchdown. Jesus Christ. So Lamar Jackson now has 4 passing touchdowns today. Passing touchdowns.
Dalvin Cook was a core player. Dalvin Cook was a guy I liked from the beginning of the summer with coming back off of the knee injury. So Dalvin Cook was a core player for me. Huge ownership, but I was well over the field in ownership on Dalvin Cook across all of the sites. I played all 4 sites yesterday. So Dalvin Cook was a guy I had on, and then he came through with his multiple touchdown game. So that was obviously really good. Le'Veon Bell was next on the list. He was not a core player. He's one of the fringe guys. And for a while, I thought he was going to sink this team. But then right around the 4th quarter, he caught him a touchdown pass like only Le'Veon can do coming out of the backfield. That's why he's so good. Caught a touchdown pass, got into the end zone with it. Very next play, 2-point conversion. He leaps up over the defender, gets a 2-pointer. All of a sudden, he's up to 20 points on FanDuel. And now I can breathe a little easier because he's not a dead spot anymore. He wasn't a core player. He was a fringe player, but he was in this lineup, so he didn't kill it. He was on the verge of killing it, which would have ruined everything. We wouldn't be having this video, but he didn't. He got his touchdown, and that's good. Deshaun Jackson was a core player. For sure, core player. 7.8%. I was so far over the field across all 4 sites. I just loved the matchup. I thought it was a fine matchup. I love the quarterbacking this year that he's going to have at home, returning to Philly, Deshaun Jackson. I loved him. I loved him this year. I loved him in week 1. The thing about Deshaun after that week, his upcoming weeks, he's going to have massive ownership. I don't know the schedule for him, but just based on that performance, he'll have massive ownership. The best wide receivers in the game that there's ever been have down weeks. They don't do it for all 16 games. He'll have a lot of down weeks this year. So now it becomes a game of how much do we press our luck with Deshaun, because he's not going to do that every week. There's a good chance he takes you some less than 5-point games moving forward. So we're going to have to, keep our eye on that. But this week he was a core play. Loved everything about him. So he made it in there. Sammy Watkins, a fringe player. And when I say fringe, he was 4% owned in this tournament. For me, I was probably right around that area. If not, I was right around that area. Like, I was not overboard on Sammy Watkins. He just made the cut because I thought Tyreek Hill's going to get the bulk of the looks on defense, the tougher matchup. So Sammy may be able to get loose 1 time. Didn't expect him to get loose 3 times. It also probably benefited a little bit that Tyreek went out. Maybe not. Who knows? Tyreek was drawing the coverage, so maybe Sammy still thrives. But definitely was in line with the field here. I was not over the field on Sammy Watkins by very much. He was definitely a fringe player, not a core player that got there. I'm going to skip on down to Mark Andrews at tight end. I just needed somebody to pair with Lamar Jackson. Marquise Brown was not a guy I was willing to take. None of the receivers were. I was going to run Lamar Jackson out there naked, or I was going to play Mark Andrews with him. That's the only options I had. I didn't like anybody else, and I was even stretching it to play Mark Andrews. I didn't love him because there's a tight end. There's a lot of good tight ends this week. So, but he got in this lineup paired with Lamar Jackson. It paid off. He had a really big game, had a really good fourth quarter or second half, and then a fourth quarter touchdown. So that all helps out. It all contributes to winning. You have to have everything break perfect for you to win something like this. Next up, Christian McCaffrey. There's really no explanation. 25% owned, huge ownership. He deserved it. Great matchup against the Rams. A lot of points. I projected a lot of points in this game. McCaffrey's going to get lots of touches in games like this. So he was a no-brainer, a core player. But, you know, I was in line with the field. He was heavily owned, and I had him heavily owned too. So that's that. The Jets were a correlation play with Le'Veon Bell. I like the Jets' defense in here. I thought the Jets had a chance. You know, my favorite defense was probably the Eagles. My second favorite was probably the Seahawks. Third was probably the Browns and the Ravens. And then there's the Jets. They were in my top five, and it just helped that Le'Veon was on this team so I could put the Jets on here. Or maybe I put the Jets on here first, and then the correlation was Le'Veon. They ended up in the same lineup because that's the way I like to roll, with a little bit of correlation. So they both paid off, the Jets and Le'Veon Bell. That's what happens. You know, a lot of times that combination or a combination of a running back defense doesn't pan out. But when it does, it pans out big, and this was big. So that's why you do it, for those once every so often opportunities to strike big. So that's that. So let's circle back around to Godwin. 21% owned in this tournament. He ended up with 12.8 points. He was the only guy I had going in the afternoon. Now, I'd actually originally didn't have him in here. All right. Originally, this was Kenny Galladay in this spot. But after the early games were just about wrapped up, it was pretty clear that I was going to be in first place going into the afternoon with one spot left.
This is headchopper's lineup, but that Mark Andrews for 5,400 right there, and the Jets defense, that's going to be hard. I mean, that's going to be hard to top, and they could be blocking each other here. And this is looking pretty good.
So guys were catching me. They were going to have to catch me. So I wanted to block as many people while still maintaining a good player in here, because I didn't want to sacrifice the player, but I wanted to block as many people as I could while still maintaining a good player. Chris Godwin was projected here at RG as the highest guy in the afternoon. Ownership-wise, he was projected all over the place to get a lot of ownership. So I wrote that, and I said, you know what? Godwin offers me a similar stat line to Galladay in the end. So I'm going to block as many people as I can because I'm leading this tournament. Now, if I was in 10th place and I need to leapfrog people and I had Godwin in there, I would take Godwin out. And I would have put in Galladay or Christian Kirk or somebody who was going to get a lot less ownership that I thought had upside. But I didn't need to leapfrog anybody. I just needed to keep people at arm's length if they had Godwin and they were chasing me. And that was 21% of the field. So that was the play I thought made the most sense. I know for sure this Charger game is my biggest nemesis, I believe.
Yes, because the guy behind you has Allen and the Chargers. And obviously the Chargers could still lose points as a defense if they give up another touchdown. So it's not like it's possible you could get 3 points from that anyway. This Dayton Muscle guy right behind that, he has Eckler. Yeah. That's the only guy. But now we have this Travis Hummel that's pulled up. But I mean, this guy is what? I'm not saying guy. It could be a woman. It could be any. It's a user. Has Barkley, Eckler, Gallup, and the Seahawks defense.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of muscle.
But that's 20 points behind. NFL overtime rules. They have it now that, like, you score a touchdown, you win. Field goal, the other team has a shot, right?
Yeah.
So in this scenario, you'd rather the Chargers score a touchdown that's not through Eckler, like a Mike Williams touchdown would be beautiful.
For sure. Absolutely. At this point, I could almost even get away from this part of the field. I could get away with a Keenan Allen touchdown at this part of the field, you know. But the quicker this game were to end without it crushing me, the better.
There's only 4 minutes left in the San Francisco-Tampa Bay game.
I know, man.
Your back pocket Godwin is...
he's failing me.
Pocket's getting small.
He's failing me, man. Come on, Godwin. And does he have more points than Galladay? That's the question, because that would be the one that would be a regretter right there for a long time if Galladay came out with more points than Godwin. Ooh, Eckler's touchdown is what the chat's saying.
That's not good.
It might not be the worst thing.
It ends the game.
It ends the game.
I think you may still, let's see, you get 6 for a touchdown and then the 10 yards.
Yeah, about 7 spot.
Yeah, but you still may be ahead by a half a point.
Which would be good because his team would be dead. Now we got to get something, just anything. Defensive touchdown, field goal to win the game for Detroit, anything except for David Johnson, right?
Right, but I bet you're protected against a touchdown, though, pretty much. If we look at the line, it's not David Johnson. Where's B. Savo? Like, we're looking at Stafford, Amendola, Hawkinson. So at least he has no Jones or Galladay.
I got some tacos waiting for me, man. I didn't need overtime here. It almost didn't work out because Galladay caught an early touchdown and Godwin kind of drifted there for a while. But in the end, they canceled each other out, so it didn't really matter. And it paid off. So that's the way that lineup went, guys. I got lucky to hit some of those fringe players. You know, building your core is not luck. Building your core takes a little time, takes a little research. Everybody has their different methods. Maybe it's just from having watched that game the previous week or reading articles here on RG, looking at consensus value. However you get your core players, you get it, and that's not luck. The luck part comes in piecing together a lineup that just doesn't have any dead spots, because to win a big tournament, not only do you have to have the big performances, but the underrated aspect is you just can't. You've got these roster spots. 8 roster spots, 9 rosters. Nobody can be a dead spot. You just can't have any dead spots in your roster. It's hard to do that with 9 players, choosing 9 players. So that's luckily for me, it worked out here. No dead spots and a little bit of big performances from Deshaun and Sammy. Next thing you know, you win a little money. So guys, thanks for tuning in. That's my recap of that big lineup. Hope you gather something from it. It's not a lot, but hopefully take some strategic points from it. And good luck in all your GPPs here coming up this NFL season. Headchopper, and I'm out of here. I'm saying good things, but I have no idea what's going on. I won't believe it till I see it here.
Right. Until it happens on your screen. You're still at the Eckler touchdown. You're still waiting. The game's over.
I haven't seen it yet. The game looks like it's over. So
looks like it.
Now we're just sweating out any stat correction.
Oh, no!
No, we're not sweating it out, though. I'm going to eat some tacos.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist.